Samin, I'm really genuinely excited to be talking to you today. Like I feel the bubbling up of excitement to be in this conversation. So thank you for saying
Oh,
yeah.
my pleasure. It's a treat for me to be here talking with you. So,
Thank you. And hi to Fava in the back. That's Fava,
oh
right?
yeah, she's
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine. She's ignoring you though. So, and me, like she doesn't care about us.
Amazing. Um so I really wanted to talk to you because I shifted the name of my podcast to Becoming the People partly because I'm really interested in this question of like how do we become kin to each other? Like,
Mm,
how do we actually not, separate from this, state nation project, like, how do we actually become each other's kin? And when I think about you, I feel like you have, I didn't really mean a pun here, but you have like some kind of special ingredient, some kind of, secret sauce, I think will help us unlock this question of how we become related to each other. So, um, I just want to say to you off the bat, is like I'm not a foodie. So when I was thinking
great.
about talking to you, I was like, what the hell? I'm
Well, that's
so
a treat for me.
underqualified.
It means we don't have to talk about food. So that's great.
Well, I want to talk about it a little bit because what I want to say to you is actually what I was first struck by was your embodiment. Really, like when I
Hmm.
watched you years ago on Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. I was like, the way that you move in the kitchen with food, with people, the
Hmm.
proximity, the closeness, that's what really struck me. I think that's one of the things that really struck me. And so I'm just, it feels like when I read your new book too, that so much of this is actually about connection for you. Um, I wonder if
Hmm.
that's true or how you feel about that. But yeah, I feel so struck by how you move in relationship to food.
Oh, thank you. I don't know. It's funny. I think I've spent most of my life dissociated. um, but I do think one of
Relate.
the places, yeah, one of the places where I do think food and cooking allow me because they are so sensory, like by sort of it's not even by definition, but they require
Yeah.
and evoke sensory experience. Um, it's like a way to force myself into my body
Hmm.
e- a little bit. So I think, and it's funny that also, I'm so comfortable in the space of a kitchen, and especially like when you come up in a professional kitchen, they're very crowded.
Yeah.
Like you have to
Yeah.
sort of know how to move and get out of people's way, and you have to kind of develop an awareness of where you are in space and where someone else is, even when you're not looking. So you're not going to turn around and accidentally burn somebody or cut somebody.
Right, right, right.
So there's so much of that kind of like heightened sensitivity. And also I've always felt like, um, between sort of like aspects of my childhood and my family, and then like as a teenager entering kitchens, like in some ways that those environments are incredibly have like really forced me out of my body.
Oh, that's
They sort of
interesting.
demanded it. Certainly like being a cook or working in a restaurant in any capacity, so much of it is like everything has to happen now. The people need their whatever now. You can't possibly stop cooking because then everything's going to fall 5, 10, 15 minutes behind. So you
Right.
have to just keep going. So even if you really have to go to the bathroom, or if you have to change your tampon,
Yeah.
or if you just cut yourself or burned yourself, you don't stop. Like you actually ignore what your body is asking or telling you to you override it to keep going, which
That's
like
right.
I was very uniquely trained to be very good at that. So it's been a very long process of unlearning that and realizing like, oh, when my body tells me I have to go to the bathroom, like I should go to the bathroom. um
Wow.
so it's funny because in some ways it's like both the poison and the cure, you know.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting because that makes so much sense. It's like once you get into that kind of like hyper productivity space around food, there's going to be all these requirements to override your own needs for the sake of producing this thing. But there's also something that I'm like, okay, that experience is so shaping for you around food. And yet, it seems like you have a very visceral, emotional experience to eating. Like I can it's almost like something else has to
I
spill
do.
over when you eat, you know? It doesn't
I do.
feel so rigid. It's not like, "Oh, yeah, that was
No, not
good."
that part.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. No, no.
Yeah.
It's like when I like something, I really like it.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
yeah, and or when I don't like, I really don't like it. And maybe it's just that I'm like, it's funny. I've heard from multiple people who either had or have disordered eating
Yeah.
that watching me has been like very healing for them, which is not something I would have ever
Wow.
like imagined. But yeah, what I did, you never know how people are going to receive something. You
Never.
just don't, right?
Yeah.
Um, so you have all of your worries and anxieties and ideas about it while you're making the thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you just truly never know. So I could have never imagined that. And that's so beautiful.
That's
I
amazing.
actually remember thinking a lot like, not that not, I wasn't worried. I just remember anticipating comments about my body and comments
Yeah.
about the way I like to eat. And, but I also don't, I kind of try to insulate myself from that kind of stuff. So I don't, I'm sure it has been said. I have not seen a lot of it, but that was what I assumed people would remark on, not the joy.
Like critiques of
Yeah, like,
yeah,
ew,
yeah,
gross.
yeah.
That's like way too big of a bite, or like,
Uh-huh.
or like, why do you eat so much, or you're fat, or I don't know what, but like,
Right.
yeah.
That's so interesting because I was so struck by your physicality. That's what I remember, like the
Mm-hmm.
way that you would engage people. I mean, that's what felt so honest to me and so human to me. I was like, "Oh yeah, this is a human being having a really visceral, beautiful experience with
Mm.
food, and I want that. I want that
Yeah.
kind of relationship. I want that kind of pleasure, with
I
food
do
too."
think it was a special opportunity that we had in like a moment in
Oh
like a
yeah.
tiny
Oh
trapdoor
yeah.
opened in the entertainment industry, and I like managed to sneak in, and we got to make this thing that I don't think is possible now.
Hmm.
To That was very much like there was a group of people who knew the whole time the magic was showing the real me. And I didn't
Yeah.
understand that. Like I didn't, and because there were also many other forces at play, so there was a lot of the opposite of that happening too. But there were the people who wanted the show made more than anything, like were just like, this is actually, at one point I was even told, like, we didn't buy this in spite of your clumsiness and your wackiness, and you're like wear these silly overalls or whatever, and you're insane. Like we bought it because of that.
Right.
Like we want this for this reason. Like don't change any of that.
Do you get that now? Like, have you internalized that?
That part of it I understand, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I find that to be so hard as someone who, you know, on a really minor scale, I'm like uh, trying to, I want to put the me forward that I think you like. And
Exactly.
I don't actually know what that is. I can't even actually conceptualize it. Like, this is what I got. This is all there
Totally.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all there is.
Uh, I haven't, and I'm sure you have, but I haven't heard you talk a lot about why food. Because I actually think
Hmm.
it seems to me as, I don't know, as honest as your writing, it always strikes me. It hits me. And maybe because I also write, but there's something really bare and again, human in how you write. And so I think about you as a writer too. But I'm curious, like, are you a writer first? Are you a chef first? And why food?
Yeah, I'm definitely, I think of myself as a writer
Oh
first.
yeah.
And even in the last few years, I think like many, not all writers, I hate writing, and I'm miserable the whole time. Like,
Absolutely.
right? And
Yeah.
also I have to do it.
Yeah.
And so lately I've been thinking, I'm like, maybe there's a different word for the thing I should think of myself as. Because part of it is I
Mm,
fought for so long to feel like I could call myself a writer,
yeah.
and to feel like that didn't feel like a lie. Um, and
Yeah.
and so that now I like cling really hard to it because I'm like, oh, I earned this. But
Yeah.
then it's so like I I hate it so much. And so I was like, oh, what if there's a different
Totally.
way to think about the thing that I want to be or am in the world? And it doesn't have to be writer first or like that. And so lately I've been thinking, oh, excuse me, Fava,
My
that
father.
Chef Fava's having an entire experience. I don't know if you've seen what
I
she's
I
been doing
have
on the
the
yeah,
stretching, rubbing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. She's just like having a whole morning over there on the couch. um, but yeah, because it was such a struggle to get to a place where I felt like I earned the title writer. I was
Yeah.
like, it didn't occur to me until recently. I was like, maybe there's a different word. Like maybe there's
Yeah.
writing is part of what I do in the world,
Absolutely.
but actually there's a different way to think about this thing that I want to identify myself as in the world. So I don't know if this is the new word, but I think a larger lens for what it is that I'm trying to do sort of on an everyday basis is maybe artist, which seems even
Yeah.
more like imposter syndrome for me to try to
Absolutely.
claim,
Yeah.
but like but also nice because it's not only writing centric. However, I have since I was in 10th grade basically want I've always wanted to be a writer.
Mm.
And I like came to school knowing I wanted to be an English major and do creative writing. And so that was the path that I was on.
Hmm.
And then food was an accident. So I just sort of like happened to start bussing tables at Chez Panisse, which is
Oh
an
yeah. I went
American
there
institution.
once.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
in it's in Berkeley, and
Yeah.
so and then I yeah, and I was a senior at that point in school, and I was thinking I was going to like graduate and go become a poet is really what I thought I would do.
Oh wow.
But also it's that time. I don't think, this was the 90s, so like things are different now. I don't know if they have job fairs anymore, but like it,
Right.
you're all of my friends around me were going to graduate and go be like doctors or lawyers or consultants, which I still don't even really know what that is, but like you know what I mean? Everyone had a path, like they had a thing they were going to go do, and mine felt so nebulous, and there was not like a clear path to it. I would go to job fairs and I could never imagine, like I didn't know what what jobs can an English major get, like
Right.
marketing.
Right.
I didn't know what that was. It felt very confusing, and I was like, the idea that I would have to go buy like a suit from Ann Taylor Loft to go sit in a cubicle all day, like that just felt so something. I was like, I guess I can just do that. I forced myself to do everything else a person is supposed to do in the world, but it felt
Right.
oppressive.
Right.
And I didn't have like I didn't know anyone who did those things. Um and so I think I was very like ready for something else to appear, another opportunity or idea to appear. So when I started bussing tables at Chez Panisse, like it's a very sort of like, the restaurant is an amazing organism.
Mm.
And um I started working there. It had already been there 28 years. And so there
Wow.
was very much like a sense of history built in, and respect and admiration for the people who came before and for the people who, were our elders and our seniors in this environment. And so it's a place where, as like a 19-year-old kid, I didn't understand anything about the restaurant industry or food celebrity or any of that. It was just I was in this place that was so beautiful,
Mm-hmm.
where people were so committed to making something really great every day, like the best. People were so all perfectionists and hard work. I was amongst
Yeah.
my people, like
Yeah.
the type
Yeah.
A
Yeah. Yeah.
people. And but also I've always felt like Chez Panisse is like a sensory temple. It's a temple to the
Mm-hmm.
senses. You walk in and there's like incredibly beautiful flower arrangements. It was the first and maybe is still the only restaurant that has like an on-staff florist. Like
Wow.
flowers are that
Yeah.
important. There are displays of produce everywhere. There's art. There's, the way the light sort of, there are like these handmade custom lights on every table, and the light in the room is really an important part of the experience. And so there's just, oh, excuse me. Sorry. Papa's having a morning. I'm sorry. Um, Let me let her out. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Hi. You need to hold on. Don't cause any trouble, please. she causes more trouble, I'll just throw her in the yard. Um, but yeah, and so it was where I feel like I learned to look at the world
Mm,
and to sort of take the world in through all of my senses.
mm.
And part of that is like every day you're walking through this kitchen and these people are just making the most beautiful food you've ever had, and every day it's something new. And I was just in awe of these people with these skills, and so I kind of wanted to learn about that. And so I started volunteering, and I begged them to take me on as an intern. And so I kind of had to like audition for an internship for many
Wow.
months because I didn't know anything, right? And
Yeah.
then eventually I got an internship, and I eventually stopped bussing tables and moved into the kitchen.
Is there
But part
any
of it was because
Go
I
ahead.
didn't know what else to do. Like I was like, how does one become a poet? I guess I'll just try this in the meantime. Yeah.
I mean, do
Sorry.
they feel like I had a teacher tell me years ago when I was learning about teaching somatics and embodiment work. And I dance. I'm not like a dancer, like a trained dancer, but I love to dance and I get really, I mean, it's a very spiritual experience for me. And she told me once, because I can be a shy person, I'm pretty shy. And she said, teach the way you dance, or dance
Mm,
when you teach, I think actually was what she told me.
hmm.
And I realized that there's a way that I can dance with my words. I can dance with how I teach, how I engage people. And it totally changed what teaching was for me. And I wonder if there's like a similar connection for you between poetry and the food. Like if they feel, do they tickle different parts or similar parts of your brain or being to do those?
It's both. They're both
Mm,
different, and there's something similar in them. So like to me, very much the writing and the cooking are complementary and very different
mm,
in that writing is so cerebral, and it
yeah.
really sort of I don't yeah, I'm sort of stuck in my head and I'm thinking things over, and there's an agonizing over it, and often like only in my head doing it, not even doing it on paper or typing it out. And whereas cooking sort of forces me into my body, into the present moment, writing
Hmm.
can take so much time. Like literally a book can take years
Yeah.
of and whereas cooking, you make something in a day, you know,
Yeah.
and you make it and you or somebody else consumes it
Right.
literally. And then also there's not really time to get attached to the result
Hmm.
in a way that like you can really get in your head
Absolutely.
with a creative project that
Absolutely.
you're working on for a very
Absolutely.
long time. But like there's just a lot less opportunity for that in cooking. And of course, there's not to say like perfectionism or ideas about it or whatever, but there's just sort of like the nature of the job is you have to make the thing and send it out and someone's going to eat it. And so that's they're very it's a very I think important for me to have both, because otherwise I would destroy myself in my head only. So it forces me, like even just now in my this is a funny time of like getting ready to go promote this book. So
Yeah.
it's just a very busy time of a lot of interviews or like emails or whatever things I have to write that are,
Yeah.
just whatever. There's just like a lot of like busyness and chaos and sort of just like annoyance. And so and so the often like in a day or a week, the only time that I am not like on my phone or on a screen or just have or not even being like I listen to so many podcasts and audiobooks. There's just a lot of like sensory
Yeah.
um input in my life. And so the one of the few
Yeah.
times where that doesn't happen is when I just cook something, and not even necessarily something extravagant or complicated or time consuming, but it's just like the act of putting the things away and going to make something. Also for me, gardening is a big the gardening and cooking are
Yeah.
like the two ways I can reliably like get out of my body, out of my head and into my body in
And
any
into
given
your
day.
body.
Um so that for that reason it feels very important. But I think the way that they are the same, and this took me, I did not like sort of figure this out for myself until I was deeper into my writing career, and also had really started to do therapy, and my main therapy that I do is like, it's not like capital S somatic, but I would say one of the main like parts of
Mhm.
it is
Mhm.
somatic work. And so that's where I've learned how to identify feelings, how to identify things in my body, how to, and then you are just sitting there and a memory comes up. And there's sort of like, there's a that has become a roadmap for me in my writing too, because so much of writing about food, I don't know another way to do it. There are other ways to do it. I know the only way I know how to do things is to like connect what I'm going to say to an experience of my own and try to convey with like the most clear language sort of something very sensory about this experience I had, whether it was as a kid when I had this food and I'm having a nostalgia,
Yeah.
I'm describing an experience of nostalgia, or whether it's the first time I tried your burrito at your taqueria in Los Angeles. And
Mhm.
so, because food writing can be so bad if it's not like, it has to be very specific, right? You have to
Yeah.
be very specific and evocative for it to be good. I mean, all writing has to be very
Right.
specific and evocative. And
Right.
so, but for me, in order to like get at that truth and be able to convey that in words, I have to get really clear and remember what was happening in my
Yeah.
body when I ate something or tried something or made something or went somewhere.
Yeah.
And the
That's
only
right.
way that I
That's right.
like, the weird way that I figured out how to do that for myself is I have to get really quiet, and I basically lay down on the floor in my office. And for many years I shared like a office. I had an office building that I shared with a bunch of other writers, and we each had these little like shoebox offices. And so like they'd walk, you could walk by and they'd be like, "Why is she on the floor again?"
There's Samin on
But
the
there
floor.
was, yeah. But like truly it was just like I had to get so quiet and try to
Yeah.
remember what was the experience that I was trying to sort of describe,
Yeah.
and remember what it was. What did this thing taste like? What were the flavors? What were the colors and textures? What was it doing to me in my body? It's like it's the most similar to like what happens to me on the therapist's couch of
Yeah.
like,
That's right.
trying to locate the thing in my body. So in that way they are similar, I think.
And I think that's, that strikes me as you describe that, because I really relate to that in writing. Like, how do you get back into the thing and use language enough for me that's alive so that
Mhm.
someone can feel it? But I really feel when I read your writing, I'm like, oh, okay, I can feel Samin here. I can feel Samin's heart often in the
Oh,
writing, and I'm
that's
like,
awesome.
oh, this feels like it's still the blood's still pumping in these words, which is really nice to feel.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I will just say, Michael, is my internet so shitty right now? You're like, it's shitty, but yeah, I'm like, what is happening? All right. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you. I was just like, I don't want to be freezing for Samin. All right. Yeah. Samin,
Oh, thank you. Oh, awesome. Bye
boss,
bye.
yeah. Um, I live out in the country, and so it's like some days we're doing great, and some days it's absolute shit. Um, okay. I have many more questions for you. I have to say, as somebody who, I said at the top, I'm not a foodie, and by that I mean, I eat every day, I cook every day, but I'm not someone who, my wife has. I think this is the thing she likes about me. This is like the least. It, if she could change something, it would be this about me. But I'm not
Mm.
that discriminating.
Mhm. Mhm.
I sort of eat. It's really a utilitarian sort of, get the food
Mhm.
in, get the nourishment, get the energy,
Mhm.
and I don't always spend the time to enjoy, kind of
Mhm.
like luxuriate in a meal. I don't notice.
Fascinating.
I know. It's
I would
embarrassing to
not
say.
have like, at the but to me those are two different. The discrimination and the enjoyment are not necessarily the same, right?
Okay,
Like,
okay, okay, okay.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
so I don't know that I would have. I'm like, okay, some people just for them food is just like whatever. I'll just eat whatever you put in front of
sure.
me. Um, but that's not the same as like being able to. I don't know. I'm like, I have you on such a pedestal of whatever. So I'm
Remove
like,
me
that's
from
it's
that
just
pedestal.
fascinating. Yeah.
I think it's, you know what I think it is? I grew up in Texas, and I grew up eating the food that a lot of Texans eat, and sometimes
Right.
it's actually overwhelming. Like when I go back
Yes.
home sometimes and I eat, I'm just like, I feel like I'm just being pressed upon by this food. Like the flavor is so heavy. The
Mm-hmm.
salting is so heavy. I know that I'm gonna need a nap immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've pendulum swung where I'm like, okay, I eat now for energy to
Mm-hmm.
feel good. And I'm sort of a creature of habit. I think that's also my thing
Mm-hmm.
is that I'm
Me
like
too.
protein, grain,
Mm-hmm.
vegetable, and that's how I eat.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I will say it's like you are actually the only person. I'm trying to think if I really want to say something that's true. Um, who does food that I've ever paid attention to. Maybe outside of like the Cajun chef, I don't know if y'all had that in California. Did you
No,
have
but
that guy?
oh, Emerald? Is that Emerald?
No, no,
Or is that no?
he was a Cajun chef. I'm from Texas and my family's from Louisiana,
Now I
but
need
he
to
would
look
say
this
like
up.
I guarantee. He was like a real Cajun
Oh my
dude that
god,
would cook.
amazing.
And I love
Oh
that
my
show growing
oh, I
up.
feel
Do
like
you know who that is?
I am seeing now. I probably did see this. This
You've
is
probably seen
amazing.
it, yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's what
That's
he's
incredible.
called, the
I'd pay
Cajun
attention to
chef.
that guy too. Yeah.
I felt, like, sort of related to that guy. It's like, I know
Yeah.
that guy.
Yeah.
But you are the only other person I've ever paid attention to really that does food, and I think in a way when I first saw you and in this book, especially this new book, I thought, "Samin's writing to me.
Mm.
You're writing to me because you're breaking down what it is, like the science, the magic. You're making it's inclusive, I think. That's the way I
Hmm.
think about it. I feel like I'm included in this food thing and not like, "Oh, if I don't figure out how to create this multi-course beautiful thing, I can't enter into this world of enjoying food." With you, I was like, "Oh, I can understand this. You want
Oh,
me to
that's nice.
understand this," is actually how I
I
felt.
do think a lot about the like how to write about things inclusively. And because food is such a complicated the thing about
Yeah.
this that's so interesting is like I have, let's say, professional expertise
Yes.
in a field or in that everybody has, like, every single person has their own relation, like,
Absolutely.
very profound relationship to and ideas
Right.
about food and what they like, what they don't like, what's good, what's not good. My mom made it this way. I would never have that. My religion dictates this.
Yeah.
So it's a it's been an interesting
Hmm.
thing for me to understand and recognize that because it's like if you go to have knee surgery, you don't talk to your surgeon with,
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? You're not like, "Oh, well, obviously, like
Right.
this thing about tendons and whatever." You know what I mean? Like
Right, right.
you're like, there's sort of just like an assumed, I don't know, expertise. You're
Yeah,
like, this
yeah.
person has studied this thing and is a professional in this thing, and I will defer to them.
Right.
But that never happens to me, you know?
Hmm.
Because, and it's fine. Like, as a young, like,
Mhm.
person, I was always annoyed and offended that people
Yeah.
were not like acknowledging my whatever. It's fine. I've grown up. And I think it's a beautiful and important thing for me to recognize, right? Like,
Yeah.
and to then take into account in the way and yeah, consider as I figure out how to talk to people or teach them about stuff. And it's hard because it's very much in my personality to want to make everyone happy,
Uh-huh.
and you're never going to make everyone happy, but I can do my best to figure out a way that doesn't like explicitly exclude. Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I and also part of that too is just realizing, I've had to prioritize um who is the most important for me to reach. And
Yeah.
that at some point became like, oh, I'm not in this to impress my peers and my colleagues.
Right.
Like, it's not about impressing them, it's about reaching the maximum number of people. And that was a big brain shift.
Wow. I didn't even I mean, I feel that in my own genre sometimes, like, who am I talking to? And for me, it's so important to be like, I wanna talk to people who are entering this conversation for the first time or don't know how or feel a little bit
Totally.
afraid or like, "What is my body? I'm scared to feel my body." That's who I actually wanna talk to, not a bunch of other somatic practitioners, which there's something, great about that, but
Mhm.
that yeah, that doesn't really motivate me, and I really feel that in how you write because I always thought, like, cooking is chemistry. It's science to me. And when you break it down, I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I needed to know." I needed to know what comprises the whole thing, like, how you're thinking about what reacts to what. Even in this new book, which we're gonna talk about in a second, you or like, it may be totally different how it turns out because of what kind of pot or pan you have, how your stove works, where you are geographically. My wife does a lot of fermentation, and so when she's
That's
talking
very
about
dependent on, like,
microbes, like how
totally.
it tastes totally. We had a whole our staff had a sauerkraut competition, and everybody's sauerkraut tasted
Tasted
differently.
different,
Yeah,
totally.
because of their microbiome. So I need to know that sort of thing that like that makes it come down to a level that I can both appreciate the magic of what you're doing and find a place to enter into it myself.
Oh,
Yeah. So thank you
thank
for
you.
that. It's very cool to me.
That's awesome.
Um I want to I'm like one thing is a hard pivot and one thing kind of keeps us in this um mode. Uh well, I guess I just want to say before we get into the book, I been watching you on social media and I know it's been a rough couple years as you were writing the book. You're like understatement of the century. And I mean that on a personal level, but also on a global level
Both, yeah.
too, absolutely. Um, but I want to just ask you like your father's passing, like how
Wild. Wild times,
yeah,
Prentis.
how's it changed you? Do you feel
Um,
yeah.
well, my father was not a great person.
Uh-huh.
Um, uh, and I was estranged from him pretty much like my entire adult life, like on and off. And so in some ways, and then well, so that's that. And
Yeah,
then on top of that,
it's so real.
he had a real melodramatic, chaotic demise, let's say. So he had a to just it will it's this is its own like 10-part episode, so I'll
Yeah,
just
yeah,
try and
yeah.
explain it as quickly as possible, which was he had a traumatic brain injury that we still are not sure exactly what happened, but probably like
Wow.
bumped his head or somewhere. And then that led to like a major brain bleed that was he didn't know about for a couple weeks. So eventually
Wow.
like he was taken to the hospital and they realized they had to do a craniotomy to release the pressure on his
Wow.
brain. So they did, and then um, he had major hemorrhages and strokes during that craniotomy, and they put him on a ventilator to save his life. But he didn't want that. He never wanted that. And also, it was so extreme that it was likely by the time we were called, my brothers and I, that they were like, "Oh, he'll probably he's there's so much damage, he'll
Yeah.
never wake up," and so
Mhm.
he's now on this ventilator. So that was the point at which I was called. And
Oh,
I one thing I know about both of my parents, because they have made it abundantly clear our whole lives, is that they never wanted any sort of this like life extending intervention.
yeah, yeah,
And so we get called that this has happened, and I'm like, whoa, this is wild. And I think to myself, well, he never wanted that. Like, I could probably go advocate to get him off.
yeah.
And also, like, if my dad's unconscious, he can't hurt me. So I can
Wow.
go sort of like get some closure and say goodbye.
Yeah.
And like, it's not impossible. Like, I can go advocate to get him off. And so I have friends in the medical system. They like coached me in the sort of the language that you use, the bioethical language of
Mhm.
like how you talk about someone's desires. And so I like get on a plane, go to San Diego. My brother meets me there, and we're like talking to them, and they're like, "Oh, the last time he was here 6 weeks ago, he's very specifically said that his children uh want him dead for for their inheritance," which like I didn't know there was an inheritance, but so we can't trust you. Like that's recorded in his file.
Wow.
So we were sort of thrown into this like bioethical conundrum that they said, oh, they'll have to have the lawyers meet and everybody. So while we were waiting for that, we then found out that we had a secret. He had a wife that he had just filed for divorce from, who lives in Israel
Wow.
and is a Zionist, and was calling the hospital threatening to sue them if they let his horrible, abusive, murderous children take him off the
Samin.
ventilator. So we were then like thrown into this many
Wow.
months like um what's the word, purgatory,
Yeah.
where he was kept alive basically against his will, um and also like not because his wife was technically the legal guardian, like she didn't want to give him any painkillers. So
Oh,
it was a time of like incredible suffering, and that observing that, like nobody, even a person who's been so horrible and abusive to me, like I do not, that
the
was really not.
suffering.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't want there.
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to suffer. Like
That's right.
that was just so unnecessary and so messed up. So it was just this really, it brought my whole life to a halt. It was also so melodramatic and crazy, and every day we
Yeah.
were discovering new things, and like my dad was a true chaos agent,
Uh-huh.
and so there was just all of this. We were desperately looking for like any an advance directive
Yeah.
that he would have said in legal, sort, that would be legally acceptable to the hospital to let him be taken off. So we were going through all these paperwork and all his emails and things, and we found all sorts of other crazy stuff.
Oh gosh.
It was just like a never ending. So anyway, this has now taken many minutes of this, that, but this is all to explain, like
Wow.
it really was, it was awful. It was awful for us. It was awful to watch that
I'm
him
so
have to go
sorry.
through that. And also there, it was like very cathartic, because at some point
Mm.
he was on the ventilator long enough that the swelling in his brain went down and he did regain some consciousness. He was not
Wow.
fully there, but he did have some consciousness. And so that allowed, like that was the point at which I was like, well, now I'm going to get everything that I need to get off my
Wow.
chest. So I did have an opportunity to like really say everything I needed to say,
Wow.
and also like try to care for him. And there are all these sort of, as someone is dying and as their brain is shutting down, like there's sort of the order of the senses
Yeah.
that you lose. And so I was like, well, this man has always loved sweets, he's always loved to eat, like and at that point he wasn't, I was like, I'm gonna get him ice cream, it's just like give people like any kind of sensory joy. um
Wow,
but it was
Samin.
a real experience. And so what I was left with at the end was watching him die in sort of such a sea of chaos and pain that he had created and brought unto himself. And that it was just such a sort of pathetic, I don't know another word for it, it was really a pathetic way to die. It was so just like, this is like the culmination of a life, like this
Yeah.
is what you did for yourself,
Yeah.
and this is what way you're going. And I just kept thinking to myself, what is it that I want um to do for myself? Like what is it that I want to be able to look back on when I'm dying? and
Right.
and and so that became a very clear and helpful lens for me in sort of making choices about my life and how I live from that experience. And so there's a lot less to me. I mean, still, like, this will be a lifetime of being hard on myself and trying to be less hard on myself. But there's a lot more. I've always had this sense my whole life that there's like almost like a savings account of good deeds and goodness
Hmm.
that I am like
Hmm. Hmm.
depositing into by
Right.
being, right?
Hmm.
And that if I get to some number that I don't know what it is,
Yeah.
then I will be rewarded with happiness, with a sense of freedom, with a sense of like, I belong here or whatever. Like, I
God.
deserve to be happy and comfortable. It's like, I'll just shut down and be uncomfortable until I reach some invisible
Till that
number and point,
promised
and then
day.
it'll be
Yeah.
good, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I think there was just I had this real clarity of like, oh no, there's no like number you reach in the bank account, right? There's
Yeah.
no like, I did enough and now I can be happy. Like, I have to actually just decide to take that for myself every
Mm.
day a little bit. And so that has, I think in a lot of ways, like that has become the guiding sort of idea for me as a result of that really gnarly experience.
That is a really gnarly experience to say the
Yeah.
least. And I mean, first, I don't even know. It's like I'm sorry, it's not it. It's
It was
like
like we joked. My joke. I was like, if you want to say something, you can say it. Congratulations. I'm sorry.
right,
Like,
exactly. That's
like,
so it. Some of those moments
yeah,
need a common like, can I have a
yeah, yeah,
combination
yeah,
phrase?
yeah,
Yeah, that's
like,
absolutely what I
yeah,
was feeling.
yeah,
Congratulations, I'm so very
yeah,
sorry. Um, but also, you're gosh, that life is just like that. It'll hit you like a ton of bricks, and you're up against like, oh, this is what it is. This is such a part of it. And like you said, the culmination of like those final moments, if you have that kind of span of time to die over time, it's gonna be everything that your life was condensed into,
totally,
you know.
totally.
Um, and I don't think we realize that. And it's I don't know, I think it's really powerful to have that reorganizing you. And I'm also just, you've talked really openly in the past around depression, which is something that I have absolutely that has been a journey mate for me too. And but it sounds like there's some sort of I'm not going to say it's all, whatever, but there's some sort of corner that's being turned where you're like, there's some element that I choose every day. Maybe not all of it. Maybe it revisits me, but I feel the choice a little bit differently than I did. Is that right?
Yeah, I think also like maybe another way to say it is maybe I maybe I needed my dad to not
Yeah.
be there, and also like my mom to some extent has sort of separated herself. So
Yeah.
maybe in some ways like I needed my parents to not be the main characters in my life so that I
Yeah.
could be the main character in my life.
That's right.
Um yeah.
That is I totally relate to that. You have to go, "Oh, I have to dethrone you, I have to remove you may have to you have to go into another form for me to, like, actually feel myself," and, I mean, for that, deep congratulations, and I know the
Thank you.
complication
Yeah, it's really
of all of
complicated,
that.
yeah.
So complicated, so complicated. Gosh, I'm feeling so much
Mm,
actually around that.
yeah.
I just relate to that so
Oh,
deeply. Um,
I feel you.
yeah, parents and dads. We
Mhm.
don't have to get into it, but there's something there. Um, gosh.
Oh, Prentice.
I just really feel for you because also you've
Oh,
created this really beautiful thing in this moment. Like, imagine the time frames are similar. Like, where's your dad's passing to you writing
it was
good
during
things?
while I was writing this book. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you do that? I mean,
I mean, I couldn't work. There was probably a year I couldn't work, but
yeah.
I think the part of what happened for me too was, I mean, and this is not unrelated to like my parents being the main character in my life, but I think here's the very condensed version of it,
Yeah.
which is when my mom was pregnant with me, I had an older sister who was
Mhm.
diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, and she died when I was 1.5. And so very like the very early part of my life and the pre part of my life was there was just like this incredible trauma
Yeah.
happening, right? And
Absolutely.
chaos
Yeah.
and loss. And
Yeah.
so I came into that, and that was already like people who had left under really complicated
Yeah.
circumstances their country and come to a place where they were not exactly welcome. So
Yeah.
there was just kind of a lot of layers of stuff happening in my childhood home. And I think the sort of the lesson that I internalized from what happened was that um the loss of my sister was not mine to grieve because I was like barely a human. I
Hmm.
was barely alive. And also that like my responsibility, my place in this system became to was to like basically be two kids worth of everything, right? To
Oh,
do the thing for my parents and my family that like to make up for this massive loss. And again, no one specifically told me that, but I think that's just what I picked up and sort of have spent my whole life trying to do. And with unconsciously, totally unconsciously.
yeah,
So
but you have
there's
the
just
grief, but then you also have to make everybody happy, and both of those things are
yeah,
sitting
and
right
this
next to
like
each other.
sense of like perfection and
Yeah.
achievement. And so via achievement sort of became the only way that I understood how to do
Wow.
that for them. And so um
And take on
I
their
did.
grief, I mean, it sounds
Yes,
like,
yeah.
and internalize their grief.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so then I did, like, and I became a very well-oiled achievement machine.
Wow.
And I think, as even though I have been going to therapy for a long time, and like, consciously I did not think, "Oh, if I achieve this, if I achieve some great success, then they will love me and I will have made them happy." That
Right.
was not at all happening on a conscious level. I think it was happening very deeply on a deeply unconscious level still.
Yeah.
So here I am, like, propelling myself to achieve with Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat, with this book,
Yeah.
with this show,
Yeah.
with all this stuff. And it all happens. And
Yeah.
then inside all of that, there's just like this deep sense of loneliness inside of me, of like some sort of a loss and sadness. And also, I'm this like avatar for joy in the world,
I know.
and
Yeah.
so, which is, I'm not an actor, so like that's
Sure.
not
Sure.
fake. It's
Yeah.
not fake.
Yeah.
But I think I was, this like sense of grief and loss was so deep inside of me, I didn't even know it. At some point, somebody said something to me maybe 10 years ago where she was like, "Oh yeah, like there's something so sad about you inside,
Mhm.
like there's just a
Mhm.
sadness deep
Mhm.
inside of you." And I went to therapy. I was like, this lady told me there was sadness inside of me, but like, I'm like, I'm a happy person.
Yeah.
And my therapist was like, "No, like I've always felt that too. There's like
Yeah.
a really core deep sort of," and I was like, "What?" So I started eventually like unpacking that. And especially once I did achieve all of this stuff and still felt lonely and sad inside, I had to be like, well, that didn't work, which was really crushing because I'd spent the last 20 years on something that didn't solve my problem. So that actually sent me into like a really depressive spiral of, wait a minute, like I did all of this stuff. I sacrificed everything to do this, and now I'm still just sitting here and with this longing and loneliness
Yeah.
inside. Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And around that time I started to sort of, it started to dawn on me that I had lost something too when my sister died.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that like um and what was that? And like how could I connect with that and process that 40 years later? And really the main thing that happened that sort of unlocked it for me was, I live in this sort of it's not a commune, but like multiple homes on a property
Mhm.
around a
Mhm.
shared courtyard. And so it's like multi-generational, and like, and this was,
Sweet.
yeah, it's very sweet.
Mhm.
And so my friend who lives like in the house just 40 feet away, at the time her younger son was a year and a half. And so he'd come over every morning and knock on my door to say hello and say hi to Fava. And like, he was just so cute, like this little butterball. And he was he was just so full of life and himself. And he was not like extremely verbal by any means, but there was just a lot of personality there. It was clear who he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there, I just was like, oh my God, like he's 1.5, like he's a whole person in
Yeah.
there.
Oh my god.
And if his older sister, who he loves so much,
Right.
disappeared tomorrow and nobody ever talked about it again, like he would be devastated and have this like uncontrollable like sense of loss inside.
Absolutely.
Of course he would, right? So there was a
Absolutely.
way, by seeing it in somebody else, I was able to
Mhm.
like extend that compassion to my own 1.5-year-old self. Because I think we had all just believed, I had believed I was just like some dumb
Yeah.
blob of flesh,
You weren't
right?
really
You're like
there.
barely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I was
Mhm.
like, oh my God, right?
Yeah.
And so then I basically, and because there's so many secrets in my family and people don't really talk about stuff, like there wasn't a way for me to interrogate this inside of my family history. So I had to interrogate it like a journalist almost. And so I started reading studies about what happens inside of a
Yeah.
family when a sibling dies, and anyone's memoir with death and sibling death and families. And I went to I found like a children's grief therapist,
Mhm.
and I did sand tray therapy. Like I was trying to sort of figure out, I was trying to go back in time and take care of that little kid. I also tapered off my antidepressants so I could try psychedelic therapy, which for
Mm.
me was kind of a bust. But like, tapering off the antidepressants taught me to never taper off the antidepressants again. Like,
Right, learn that
and
lesson.
so
Yeah.
so I did learn something. And like
Mhm.
but I kind of went sort of to, you know what I mean? Like I was thrown into the like depths of my own depression, and like I met it. Like I went there
Yeah.
and I
Mm.
clawed my way back out. And it was just when I was
Hmm.
sort of like stabilizing again that then my dad went in the hospital, and that threw the whole next year sort of
Wow.
off kilter. So there was but honestly, because I had done this other work first, I was able to meet my like the experience with my dad. And then inside of all of that, I had this like book I was supposed to be writing, and it felt so meaningless. I was like, how can I possibly be this avatar for your joy through cooking soup when like this is all I want to eat is Barbara's cheese puffs and frozen pizza and like barely survive. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right.
none of it
Absolutely.
felt
Absolutely.
meaningful in any way. None of it felt important. It felt so like empty, and that why? And in a way,
Hmm.
you know, I don't think of myself as a foodie. Like I think as a young cook, I was so interested in I'm just a deeply curious person. And so
Yeah.
like as a young cook, I really immersed myself in this whole world, and I wanted to learn everything and read every book and cook everything and go to all these restaurants and dissect everything. Oh my gosh. Let Fava out. I'll
It's
be right
all
back.
good. Oh, I'm feeling so many things right now.
Hey buddy, it's okay. Do you want to go outside?
I might need to ask her to stay a few more minutes because I haven't actually gotten to the book yet.
Now she's just gonna go terrorize the streets of Oakland. She just escapes the yard. Like I've got there. She's just walking up and down the street.
I at some other point in time I want to talk to you about dogs because I have two dogs
Oh yeah.
and
Oh
they're
my god.
characters.
So funny.
I realized
She's the
that
new main character of my life. I
is
kicked
she?
my parents out, and then I just have Fava now.
It's all
Yeah.
about Fava.
Yeah.
um, we're coming up on time, and
Oh yeah.
I want to talk about the book, and I don't want to
Um
keep you
I can stay
too.
for another like 15, 20 minutes if
Okay,
that
okay,
works. Okay.
that's great. That's great. That's great. Do you want to? You were kind of coming around to
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah,
What was that? And then because I had the
you.
therapy.
Uh,
Oh, the
mm.
food. Oh yeah. So like as a young cook, I was so obsessive about all that stuff. And then within a few years, I remember probably after like 5, 6, 7 years, I just realized that was very joyless. It was a very
Mm.
joyless way to obsess over. Like I would go to restaurants with a friend, and we would sort of dissect everything they had done and every ingredient, and oh, they probably did this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
And like nobody ever wanted to eat with us. And, and then I didn't want to eat with us. Like it was just not very that was not what I cared about, you know? And
Yeah.
it's not that I didn't want to like hone my craft or hone my skill. It was just that was not what was interesting to me anymore.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been interesting to me for a very long time. And it's complicated too, because then you become, that's the other thing was for, I don't know, 16, 17, 18 years. I was doing this work and I was invisible, right? Like I was just some brown girl. I was never the chef of a restaurant or anything. Like I
Yeah.
was just maybe locally I had some bylines. And then kind of overnight I become this very recognizable
Yeah.
person and considered an expert in my field. And
Wow.
so much attention is poured my way. And also like every time you go to a restaurant now, everyone brings out everything. They want to send you everything, give you everything.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, my stomach, I'm 45. Like, I can't eat
Right. Right.
this right anymore.
Right.
Like, I just want to go home and put on pajamas. Please let me leave.
Exactly.
Um,
Right.
so it's just an interesting thing to like, I had to sort of go through all of this life basically and look at the work that I was doing, ask why, because there were a lot of times where I was like, this is pointless. Like, I don't need to be doing this. I already wrote the book I was going to write. I can just sort of disappear into obscurity. I don't need
Mhm.
to do this
Mhm.
anymore.
Mhm.
But I had to like come back to the truth that like cooking and eating does bring me a lot of joy, and it is a very grounding force in my own life. Um, and I think the main thing that I sort of took away from watching my dad die was the preciousness of time. Like I just was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you
Want
only
to talk
get what
about
you
that.
get and you don't
That's
get
right.
any more."
That's right.
And so if that can be this like main way that I approach my life and understand that the most valuable thing I can share with anyone is my time, um or that the most precious thing that I can ask for from anyone is their time, then one way to do that is by cooking for or with them or eating together. But
Mhm.
it doesn't actually matter what we're cooking or eating, you know. And
Right.
and so much of my sort of arc has been like decentering what's on the table, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah, yeah,
centering like
yeah.
who's at the
Who's
table.
at the
Like,
table?
mm-hmm.
I wanna get into that, into the book and the timepiece, but first I just sort of wanna reflect back to you something, which is that I can imagine when you first came out and everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, she's so joyful and she laughs so much and we love to, watch her." The pressure that could be, and then to have gone through these last few years, and it seems like they're so transformative, and also, like, you had this whole achievement thing, and you did achieve. It's like you
I know.
achieved on the highest level, so you sorta have to go through that experience too to be like, "Oh, what is actually there?" Like, I did that, what did that mean? And who am I left with, or who have I become? But I also I think what I wanna say to you is, like, all of that is has a truth to it, and when I read good things, I'm like, what is also true is that the depth, the intention, the humanity of you and all the complexity, the rough spots, the grief, all of that, we could also sense aspects of that before. And you're bringing, this is a food term, I think. It's like there's a flavor forward sort of thing. And I feel like you came out in it's like, oh, she's
It was
jovial,
just
she
sweetness.
laughs.
Now you can see the sour and the
Yeah,
bitter. Yeah.
yeah, but, that's actually part of why I think there's been so much love towards you, is
Hmm.
even though you weren't forwarding those aspects of
Mm-hmm.
yourself, they were felt, and I think we relate to that. I relate to
Mm-hmm.
that. I'm like, "Me too. Me
Mm-hmm.
too," you know? I do this work and I also get sad. I do this work and
Mm-hmm.
I also get angry. I do this work and I have complicated relationships with my parents, and I don't know, I think you letting out that humanity more, it might be weird to you, but it's probably gonna endear a lot of people to you even
Oh,
more.
it's not weird though because I don't actually know another way to be. Like
Yeah, thank God.
I don't know, and I also feel like one of the most sort of maybe the most precious or special part of like what it is that I get to do, I think, is knowing that like I get to be for other people what I never got to have for myself. You know, like like
Sure.
that I never, right, that like there are so many parts of it. There's just the just very on the most basic level. And there's so many parts of me sort of learning and realizing and like revealing to my own self things about myself. So one is I think if I had sat down to and thought about, and this is extra funny and like points to self blinders because I did make myself such a student of cooking world and certainly the cookbook industry.
Hmm.
Like I knew the entire landscape for like the last 50 years when I wrote the book proposal for Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat,
Oh my
and like all of
God.
it, because I also part of it was I was so hungry for the thing I
Yeah,
needed that I had looked everywhere for it,
yeah.
right, and I knew it wasn't there. But so even though I had like was very familiar with all the things, it wasn't until probably 2 years after my book came out that I realized that it's shelved in a part of the cookbook section in the bookstore that's called general cooking,
Okay,
right? Because it's a
okay.
very general, it's a cookbook just
Yep.
meant to teach you how to cook generally, right? And if you go look at that shelf, there are no all of the books are written by white people.
Oh, yeah.
Like, except for, I think at this point there's one other, there's Kenji Lopez who wrote a book, and but also, so to say, which is to say, like, there's no brown, no not white women who have written a book that like lives on that on that
Oh my
shelf.
gosh.
Because when you are not white, then you are sort of like expected to write about the food of your ancestors or
Right,
whatever.
right.
That's the only thing you could possibly have anything to
And
say
it's
about.
so you can't be a general
Yeah.
expert.
There, yeah. So
Yeah,
the like, it never even occurred to me that that was a thing that I was, I don't know, breaking or something, you know,
yeah,
like a
yeah.
ceiling I was breaking or something. And if it had, I probably would have been like, "Oh, I can't do this. That's not, I'm not the one to
Hmm.
do that." But then now I get to do that, and now there's this person with this name that you can't spell or can't pronounce or whatever, like, right there on that shelf, like, with the book that sold 1,000,000 copies, and so,
Yeah.
that feels to me like, wow, I get to do that for somebody, like, I get to be that,
I mean, you
and
did it for me. I think you probably did it to a lot of for a lot of other people that maybe identify more closely with you, but you did it for me too. Like when I look at you and I see you, curly hair, brown
mhm,
skin, I feel excited. I'm like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, thank you.
us,
It's
the broad
exciting.
us. That
Yeah,
makes,
totally,
yeah,
yeah, and, yeah, it's, so it's just
yeah,
been, like, there have
grateful
just
for
been
that.
many things revealed to me over time, yeah.
This book, um, you have a quote in the beginning, and I want to get it right. Well, I think it's on this page. Oh no, it's right here. Um, you open the book with this quote from Raymond Carver that says, "Eating is a small good thing in a time like this." And it could almost feel like having this book that's like good things. This moment where you're like, almost there's almost nothing good.
I know, totally.
How dare we have
It's true.
something like good things? Um, but yet it feels like it speaks exactly in a way to this moment to say that, there are these small gestures, these small moments, these small efforts that together create something larger and larger and larger. And that's what I really got from the book. You may feel overwhelmed. I feel overwhelmed often by everything that's happening in the world, but there's still always a small thing to do.
Mhm.
And that felt like such a really important takeaway from this book. It's like, look there too.
Mhm.
Um, and you have power in that way. You have the power to create a beautiful experience, to
Mm.
connect with people. That always still exists, and it feels like your book is a reminder of that in a time when I think we all really need that reminder.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny too, because it was, I mean, not that it was been great times in the last several years, but, like, but
Yeah.
it was not, things feel so oppressive and so dire right
Right.
now,
Yeah.
and I couldn't have, like, foreseen that, and I definitely didn't want that, but that quote comes from a story called A Small Good Thing,
Mm,
and it's a really sad story, and it's about this little boy dying and his parents being in this state of like shock
mm,
immediately after his death, and this sort of interaction happens between the parents and this baker, and the baker sort of is tripping over himself once he realizes like the gravity of the situation. He's trying to comfort them, and he's like, "I'm just a baker, like I don't have a lot of interpersonal skills, like let me," he's like, but he's like, "Oh my god, oh my god, like you guys need to eat something, you haven't eaten anything all day, like sit down, sit down." He starts pulling like cinnamon rolls out of the oven.
mm,
He's like, "You need to eat something, eating is a small good thing in a
mm.
time like this." And I just remember feeling like, oh, it's always a time like this,
Yeah.
whether or not this is
Yeah.
your particular like thing, there's always a way in which like we or somebody else like needs a little bit of comfort.
That's right.
And it's not that I think food solves everything,
Sure.
but but certainly, I mean, also just like to acknowledge, like, we're talking about food in a moment when like people are being actively starved in
Yes.
Palestine. So like
Yes.
that's very like heavy and very present for
That's
me.
right.
But so food can be more
Food can
even,
solve a lot.
it
Food
can
is
solve a lot.
life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
And also like it's not necessarily like having, here, eat a popsicle, that'll make
Yeah.
everything better.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
but the yeah, I think that sentiment of like so much feels out of our control.
That's
So
right.
much feels so big and so heavy. And this is this basic need that we all sort of must meet every day. and have the fortune and privilege, most of us, to meet every day. And so it can be an opportunity for connection.
Yeah.
And if we just sort of like maybe shift away from thinking of it as a chore or as I mean it is a chore, like, and but
Yeah.
or as a burden, and sort of look at it when we can as an opportunity, I think that can be a way to do the thing that I'm trying to do, which is like take advantage of the time that I have, you know.
That
And so
timepiece is
yeah.
so major for me. And I'll just say, Michael, my dogs are crying outside the door. Can you hear them?
They're talking to Fava. Yeah. I can hear.
One second.
Okay.
I don't know what I can't let them in because they will be like right here in the
That's really
recording.
funny.
Um,
It's, I
I,
mean, whatever. We have dogs. Like, it's
I have one
fine.
dog that is just like a diva, and he thinks it's gonna rain, so he's
Oh,
like,
he's freaked out.
it's not actually gonna rain. It's not thundering, but he doesn't. He's very like take care of me
Hmm.
at all times. I'm gonna bring this fool
Okay.
in, and hope he doesn't destroy everything. And I have a question. Okay, you're gonna have to sit down. Sit down, please. And if his panting is too much,
I'm telling you, we're just living in. It's not our world. It's
oh my
daughter's world.
god, dogs! Anyway, I want to talk because I used to be a dog person. I feel like I'm no longer a dog
Oh,
person,
that's really funny.
and
Your
I need
dogs
to talk to
cured
people
you.
about it. Yeah, they did, they did, and yeah, they're still here. I love them, but it's hard. I want to talk about the piece around time because I'm a parent. I have a 4-year-old, and one, I just love the way that you talk about children. I just want to say
Oh,
that
I love kids. I love
I
children.
just there's so much respect for them in this book and their like requests, their relationship with them. I just really appreciate that,
Oh,
as a
thank you.
parent. It really moved me. I was like, "Oh, you have some friends who are children." And that's cool.
Totally,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Like I am, like they come over to visit me.
I could
Like
feel that. I was
yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh, I
We
wish
just
my daughter."
recorded a little video. I wasn't here, thankfully, but like they did like a interviewing the children about me, and
Oh my
I
god.
cannot wait to see, because the other thing about kids is like they don't lie. Like they're
They
gonna
don't
tell you
lie.
the truth. They're not gonna like sweeten anything. They're just gonna
Oh
be like,
yeah.
yeah,
My daughter was like, "I love mom more than I love you." And I was like,
cool.
"Great, great. Yeah, makes sense."
You're like, I'll be in therapy for the rest of
Yeah,
my
I'm gonna
life
have to go
about
deal
this.
with that, but
Yeah.
still working through this stuff around like, am I lovable? But sure, yeah.
I love mom.
You're entitled to everything you feel. But this piece around time as a parent, it's so like there's no time. There's no time.
Yeah.
There's no time to do this thing. And first you like you spoke to that because I'm always every day I'm thinking I should be able to have my child have 14 jobs, make a meal, and it's just all impossible. And I think what's really cool about your book in a way for me, really, really for me, is that it's like you give me all these little things I can do just to make the meal or the day just a little bit more special. It's like if I have this on hand, I
Mhm.
can make whatever taste better or be an enjoyable experience. And that is actually very accessible for me as
Yeah.
someone where I really feel like time is a scarce resource for me most
Yeah,
days.
totally. And now I'm thinking there's I don't have it in front of me, but there's a actually I do have it in front of me. Oh.
Is this the
There's
book?
Rebecca Solnit has
Oh
a
yeah.
quote about like jam that I love. And but something you just said sort of made me, let me see what she said. Oh, making preserves is an art of stalling time, of making the fruit that is
Yes.
so evanescent last indefinitely. Each container is a capsule in which time stands still. So like a
Oh
jar of
yeah.
jam is like very much a time capsule. It's
We
like,
made that last night because we have
oh, cool.
our figs are going
Oh,
off and
amazing.
I want to enjoy these figs all year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but now like you're actually making me think like, oh, there are a lot of different time cap, like all of these little things in their own
That's
ways can
right.
be time capsules, and not necessarily preserving. It's not about preserving or whatever, but like if you do the work to have this thing in your fridge, then it's like, you get to open it and use it. You know what I mean? You're like,
Yeah.
it's like a,
Yeah.
it's a bank account of time. Your
Yeah,
fridge is a
and
bank account of
beauty.
time.
You're
Yeah,
like, "Here's
totally.
a little extra beauty, and
Yeah,
here's a little love I tucked away for
yeah,
this
totally.
moment," you
That's a
know?
nice way to think of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally how I think about it. I'm like, "Oh, I could actually do this," and it's just a little like, "Here's this.
It
Here's."
doesn't have to be a lot. Yeah, because
Yeah,
honestly, what you described, your grain, vegetable, protein, I mean, like,
that's how I
I would
live.
say that's very much my very simple. I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes I don't even get all 3,
yeah,
but, like but,
totally.
like but that is, like, you know what I mean? The rice cooker's going at all times in this house. Like,
Yeah,
there's sort of just, like, that's s I often just need to get myself fed with something
yeah,
that is going to, like, not give me a stomach ache, like, I'm gonna not gonna make me sick, um, gonna nourish me, but then I always, because I'm like, "Ooh, I really want the one little extra thing." So is it this yogurt? Is it this
yeah,
sauce or whatever? So it's very, in some ways, rudimentary.
yeah,
Like, it feels like I'm not saying anything. I know I'm not saying anything new. It's just, I'm just revealing, like, this is all I've got for you. I can't, I had a lot of insecurity over this while I was making this book for many reasons. And
mm,
one was when, I get sent all the cookbooks.
mhm,
I don't spend that much time on social media, but just to
mhm,
save my brain. But
yeah.
when I do look at it, there's somebody making inevitably some beautiful, gorgeous food thing. And that is not what I make at home. That's not the work that I do. That's not the things that I write about. Like,
Yeah,
that's just not. And
yeah,
a lot of times it feels really redundant and boring for me to be like, here's how to make another roasted carrot or whatever. I'm just like, I
yeah,
already told you how to do it. I can't tell you again. But I
yeah,
had to figure out what was it that was underneath that I was trying to communicate, which was, and part of it was getting pretty vulnerable and being like, no, I'm not out here telling you how to make your own, like, 3-course restaurant
yeah.
meal with
Thank
beautiful
you.
photos. It's just like, this is how I get through my day or how I
Thank
get through
you.
my week. And, like, maybe it can help you a little bit too.
I really appreciate it. I mean, I really wanna say thank you because I will look at a recipe often, and I can do it. I'll do a recipe, but it'll be a whole event, and it's not something I can do day to day. But I want to show my love for my family. I wanna be in there with my family. So just thank you for thinking about it that way. Like,
Oh,
what's a small good thing that we
mhm.
can do that shows our love, that creates connection, where we can gather around and enjoy being together? Because I think that's so much of what food is about. And I wanna just move us towards close here, and say, hmm, I have actual questions for you for some other time in life
Okay, great.
that I
Can't
was so
wait.
curious about. Um, but I think about this time where, food has always been political, the production of food, the distribution of food, who gets food, who doesn't get food. And it's especially fraught now. I mean, we can see what's happening to people, children, everyone in Gaza, people also in Sudan. There's just mass starvation in really preventable ways. And we know it's not only that it's preventable, it's like people are using food
Yes, as a weapon.
and as a weapon in a really weaponized way. Um, and first, I just want to thank you and acknowledge you as someone who's seen that, who's known that, who's spoken to that. And in this moment where it feels so critical, you've been someone that's been vocal about what food means beyond our kind of individual enjoyment, what it means collectively, what it means to how it can be weaponized and how people can be intentionally kept from this experience of food. And it's so important to culture. It's like it's
Mhm.
nourishment. It's also culture. It's also, you know, allowing people's culture to persist through food. But I want to sort of end with this question of like, in this moment, this time, what are your highest hopes for food and us? How
Hmm.
we come to relate to food in this time, in this moment.
Well, it's interesting. Someone recently, like, played back something I had said when the last book came out, and it was a whole thing of like, maybe if we watch people and we become familiar with their food customs, like, we'll become a little bit more open to them. And I'm like, and they're like, do you still believe that? And I was like, absolutely not. Like, like,
Oh, man.
I know a lot of racist people who eat tacos. You know what I mean? Like, and want
Right.
the border wall. Like, it's
A
just like,
lot.
there's not. I don't think
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't think that anymore. Like, and
Yeah.
I'm not even sure I truly believed it ever. I mean, maybe I did.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I don't think that's enough. And so I do think I don't know what my hopes are. I mean, my hope,
Mm,
wow, I've never actually thought about that. I mean, my first hope is that everybody who needs food gets it.
absolutely.
Um which just like is like such it's just it's such a crime. It's an embarrassment to humanity. It's and as much as it's very forefront for good reason what's happening in Gaza right now, and thankfully also that's like brought I think to many people's attention what's happening in Sudan,
Yeah.
but it's also happening at all times
Yeah.
in our own, like right here, it
Here.
happens
Yeah.
everywhere, and it's definitely happens in this country, and even in just the most like places I sometimes am like shocked to
Mm,
realize the like level of food insecurity.
yeah.
um One of my friend's moms is like a on some sort of like lady elders fundraising group for
Mhm. Mhm.
students at UC Berkeley, and she's an amazing cook, and so she'll always be like, "Oh, I made 400 bags of biscotti and we sold them and we made $5,000 or whatever."
Wow.
And at some point I was like, what were you doing that for? Like, who are you raising these like who are you selling your cookies for? And she's like, it's for students at UC Berkeley. She said,
Wow.
like, and you think of this like an elite university,
Yeah.
and she said there's a crazy proportion of students, like
Who are
higher than ever
hungry.
before at the university, who are food
Oh my
insecure.
gosh.
So it's everywhere, right? It's
Oh,
it's
wow.
it's everywhere, and I think it's so messed up that the systems that we are in, like trapped inside of, that we have created and like are trapped inside of, sort of do this. There's just so much food waste, and then
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
so it's just an extraordinary shame that people don't have enough to eat. So
Yeah.
I don't I think that's my main hope. I don't know how my work, if at all,
Mhm.
connects to that, but
Mhm.
I think my much on a much smaller, like more modest level, my hope is that I think if I can just sort of like, I don't even know what my hope is, like, to just give
Yeah.
people a little sense of, there's just, you know what? Here's the thing. My friend, one of my friends, during the pandemic, she started using this term pleasure islands. And
Mm.
she's like, everything is so dire and so horrible. Like, and I just need to basically give myself something to look forward to,
Yeah.
because it's like I'm just jumping from pleasure island to pleasure island. And like the
Yeah.
whole rest of life is like, you're just your everything is to get you to the next pleasure island. Whether it's
Yeah.
like, I get to
Yeah.
look forward to this vacation, I get to look forward to eating chicken tenders for dinner, I
Yeah.
get to look for whatever it is, right? So I
Mm.
think in some ways, like, good things is about like very tiny pleasure islands. And so being able to recognize them and share them, like, with each other in our daily lives, because there is just so much else to survive. Yeah.
So much. Well, that's an awesome hope.
Yeah.
Um, I hope that for all of us too. Let's find those pleasure islands. And Samin, thank you
Oh,
again for
thank you,
taking the
Prentice.
time.
It's a
You're the
gift.
coolest, and
Oh, you're the
I'm
coolest.
so
Oh my
glad you're
god. I'm
doing
so
what you're doing.
grateful to you for your work. I love
Oh
listening to
my
you. So thank you.
goodness. Thank you. Thank you.